All right, we're just a few minutes after 2 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started for today's webinar. As I mentioned, if you do have questions, go ahead, add them to the questions field. This is a live Q&A, so we're just answering questions live today. So if you have questions, go ahead and put them in there. That way we can just jump right in to our attendees' questions. To get started, of course, welcome. My name is Nikita. I am the product manager for Tax 990, and I have been working with Tax 990 for about 3 years now. I have done all of the roles from support to development assistance and product management. We've done lots of webinars together. If you've joined any from our past, you may recognize me. But I'm excited to jump into this Q&A today and help prepare everybody for the November 15th deadline, which is next week. Before we get started, I will just remind everybody the presentation is going to be recorded. We will send a copy to you after the webinar. We'll send it in an email, and we'll also have it available at tax990.com in a couple of days. If you have questions, go ahead, add them to the chat, and we will address those here in just a couple of minutes. Please keep in mind, we are not tax advisors. We cannot provide specific tax advice. You would need to reach out to a CPA, an accountant, or the IRS for very specific tax advice, which is similar to how to report your details on what lines and in what amounts. We can provide guidance on questions related to the forms themselves or the process of filing with Tax 990, but we can't tell you how to specifically report your organization's details. If you're not sure if it's an accountant question or a Tax 990 question, go ahead, post it in the chat anyways, and I'll just let you know that you would need to contact an accountant or the IRS. All right. Also, if you have very specific account questions, for example, if you're working on your form right now and you have a question about an error you're getting on a specific line, give us a call. That way we can pull up your account and we can look at that with you while you're on the phone. It's very difficult to answer very specific account questions during a webinar, but we're happy to look up your account with you and provide you with some more details. All right. So today it is just a live Q&A. Like I've mentioned, we will answer questions live here in our webinar. I see some of you have already posted some, so we'll jump right into those. If we don't get to your question today, that's okay. You can send us an email and we'd be happy to assist you with our support team. And we'll also follow up. If we're not able to answer your questions live today, we'll follow up after the webinar. So let's jump right in. I'm just going to, let's see, pull these questions over. Again, thank you guys for putting those in the chat. It makes it easier to jump into your Q&A. Oops. All right, so our first question, how do I add a separate schedule for extra board members that don't fit on the IRS form? So there is an option on the 990 series forms to be able to add additional documents. So the schedules themselves are going to automatically generate based on the information you provide on the return. So if you complete a return and, for example, you choose your 501c3, the Schedule A is automatically going to populate. And it works that way for all of our schedules. If you indicate that you're terminated or dissolution or going out of business, Schedule N is automatically going to populate. So based on how you complete the forms, we will generate those schedules for you. If you have additional documents that you want to add to your form that aren't related to a schedule, there is an upload option where you can upload a PDF of that and it will be included. If you have additional information, if you want to explain a specific line item, you can add to Schedule O. There's an option to add information on Schedule O that's very generic. So if you want to just further explain something, you can do that on your Schedule O. Christina's wondering, she says, I filed 990N forms, but not the 990EZ before, so I don't check initial in Section B, correct? That's a great question. We get a lot of just general conversation about when to choose initial return and when to choose final return. So initial return is only checked one time in the entire existence of the organization. When you initially receive your tax exempt status and you file your very first 990 series return, that's when you choose initial return. Any other time of your filing throughout the life of the organization, you will not choose initial return, regardless of whether or not you're filing a different type of form. The only time you're going to choose final return is when your organization will no longer be operating. If you've terminated or you're going out of existence, then you'd choose final return to file with your schedule in and explain what happened to all of your assets and your funds. So during the life of an organization, you only choose final or initial return one time ever. Otherwise, you leave those fields blank. We also have a question about Schedule O. So the question states, I'm doing the interview-based filing in the form. Should the Schedule O pop up when it is needed? So using our interview-based format, the Schedule O is going to generate a little bit differently. It's when you answer questions throughout the filing flow and add details to each line, it's going to automatically populate Schedule O in your PDF. But in the interview-based format, you really don't see Schedule O, and we don't have the option to add additional non-required information to Schedule O using the interview-based. If you have information you want to add that isn't asked during the filing process, I would suggest using our form-based filing option because it will allow you to add those additional details to Schedule O that aren't necessarily required. We are working on a feature that allows you to add additional Schedule O details in the interview-based format, but right now we only have it in the form-based. Paul has stated that they've completed the 990 EZ for several years, and in February, the IRS requested a 990N. So it's not often, Paul, that we see the IRS requesting a specific form. If for several years you've just filed the 990 EZ, but your gross receipts were less than $50,000, the IRS may just be indicating that you have the option to file the 990N instead. If you want to send us just like a screenshot of that notice you received from the IRS, we can help determine specifically why the IRS is asking you that and provide a little bit more guidance on what steps you might need to take. We have a question on filing. So do I need to do both forms every year? Paul, again, this is related to Paul's previous question about filing the 990 EZ and the request to file the 990N, I believe. So the IRS is only going to accept one 990 series return for each tax year. So if you file a separate return or an additional return, it's going to get rejected. With Tax 990, we don't provide the option to file multiple returns for the same tax year. We only provide the option to file one return per tax year. The IRS will not accept two returns unless it's like an amended return, but you can only amend the specific form. So you can't, for example, amend a 990 EZ and make it a 990N, but you can make corrections to the 990 EZ. And hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. If you have additional questions on that, Paul, like I said, go ahead, send us just a screenshot or a PDF of that document and we can help try to provide some more information. Jason is wondering, for listing of board members, would you include only those still with the organization on December 31st or any from the entire duration of the fiscal year? So because you're reporting on the activities of the entire tax year, the entire fiscal tax year that you're filing for, you would want to provide information on all of the board members from the entire year. Margie, in relation to your question about your investment balance, if you could send us an email so we can pull up your account and look at the form specifically. I know a lot of things about the 990 forms, but I don't know line by line. Just off the top of my head, I would have to have the form in front of me to help provide guidance on that. But please send us an email with your question so we can pull up your account and help provide some guidance on where that information would be reported. We have a question about whether or not you can switch from interview to form-based within Tax 990. So that's not, yes, you can switch your filing formats, but you will be starting over on the form when you do that. What option you have right now, we are working to make it more accommodating to be able to switch back and forth and not lose all of your information. But right now, if you switch, you are starting over. However, if you're currently using interview-based and you've completed a significant portion of it, from the dashboard or the home page, you can download a PDF of the form and it'll have all the information you've already completed. So then when you start over on your form-based, you would really just be kind of copying information from the PDF and putting it on the specific lines of the form-based, since the form-based format is going to follow the PDF. So if you choose to switch, download that PDF first, switch your filing formats. Again, you will start over, but then you'll have that PDF as a reference. Jerry's wondering if there's a deadline for submitting an amended 990 EZ return for a prior year, such as 2022. So there's not a deadline to submit an amended return. Obviously, you would want to do that as soon as you recognize the mistake on the originally filed return. But keep in mind, you don't want to go past 3 years because the IRS will only continue to accept the current and two prior year returns. For example, if you notice an error on your 2020 form, you would not be able to file an amended for a 2020 return because the IRS doesn't support the 2020 forms anymore. However, if you notice an error on your 2022 return, you would just want to file that amended as soon as you notice that error. However, there is not a deadline on that. Those have been really great questions. I'll give you just a couple more minutes. We've gone through everything that you guys have asked thus far. So I'll give you just a minute to continue to add your questions and we'll jump right back in. Okay, here's a good one. So we have a question about filing the 8868 a second time. The question was, they filed the 8868 in May and want to file another 8868 in November. So for those of you that don't know, the 8868 is the 6-month deadline extension form. So if you filed your extension for your May deadline, then your new deadline would be November 15th. And you cannot file another extension. You have to file the 990 series return at this point. So the IRS will only accept one extension form per tax year. And the extension does have to be filed on or before your original deadline. So if you have a November 15th deadline, that also means you have until November 15th to file the extension. If you file it on November 16th, not only are they going to reject your extension form, but then you're also going to start accruing penalties for filing the 990 form late. We have someone asking about the option to share the return. So the question being asked is, if I share my return, will the recipient be able to change information on the return? So for those of you that don't know, we have the option to share your return prior to transmitting. Some clients need to get a second set of eyes on the form, confirmation that everything looks okay prior to transmitting it to the IRS. With our share return feature, with the share return feature, the person reviewing the return will not be able to change anything. So the reviewer will get kind of a PDF format within a portal. So they'll get access to the portal through the request that you send them, and they'll review it in a PDF format. Now they can make comments, kind of like an instant messaging situation where they can comment and say, part 1, line 7 doesn't look correct. Can you make adjustments? And you'll be notified of those comments, but they won't be able to directly change anything on the PDF. Additionally, you don't have to wait for your reviewer approval in order to transmit. If your reviewer is just not getting back to you, or they have no comments but they're not approving it, whatever the case may be, if you no longer need to wait on that approver, you can proceed to transmit. It's not going to stop you just because you haven't gotten that reviewer approval yet. We have a question about the 990 being sent to the state. So Tax 990 does not currently support direct state filing. We only file with the IRS. you would need to check with your state Department of Revenue on their filing requirements. Oftentimes, most states just require you to send a PDF to the DOR, and we offer the PDF within the application in Tax 990, so you can download your PDF if that's what the state requires, but we do not support direct state filing. Another question about the share return feature. We have a question on if I share the return with the client for 2022, will the 2023 automatically be shared? That's a good question, and the answer is no, it will not automatically be shared. You do have to indicate that you want to share each tax year. That way, if the person you're sharing with is no longer part of the organization, they're not being automatically sent a request to review if they don't need to. So it is a step that you would have to complete each year, send the invite to the reviewer individually and request their review. We have one question. Will the information I enter from last year for various fields be reflected on the screen when I'm entering this year's info? That varies a little bit. So we do have a feature for copy prior year details on most of our forms, and that can give you the option for Schedule B, prior year revenue and expenses, and a couple other areas. I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but there are several areas on the form that you can copy from prior year straight onto the form. There's a button you click, copy prior year, agree to it, and it'll copy it onto your current year return. The other option that you have is to download a copy of last year's PDF and just kind of have it, on paper in front of you or on the side of your computer or wherever you need it, and then you can use that as a reference to enter this year's details. So you can always look at the last year as a reference and use that if necessary, but there are several areas on the forms that allow you to copy that information. And when you start the form, it'll ask you if you want a copy from prior year if you've been filing with us for consecutive years. Kathleen is wondering about training materials available. With Tax 990, we don't. We have a lot of webinars that we've done over the last year with a lot of different useful tools and tips and tricks and demos and explanations. The most recent one we did, I think it was last week, maybe the 29th, last week. We just hosted one and we went through an entire step-by-step on adding your organization, starting a form, the audit error process, and a lot of other things. So if you check out our webinars page at tax990.com, and I'll link that to you here as well. But if you check out the webinars page, you'll be able to view all of our previous webinars and get some details on the steps to complete your forms. We also have a lot of knowledge-based information. There's an AI bot inside the application, and just several other really good features available and Q&A options available. So check those out too. Let me see if I can copy this link and just send it to you without.
All right, thank you for joining.
We're gonna share the audio on it too, apparently. All right. Kathleen, I did just send you the link for that webinar I was talking about that we did last week. So check that out. If you have questions, if you're just so confused once you get in there or you don't know what steps to take, we have a full support team, and I'm going to share our support information here in just a few minutes as well. So you can call our support team and we can walk you through any additional steps that you have questions on. This is a really good question we just got. If the form is sent by the deadline but is rejected, will it still be considered late? No, it won't be, but you do have a grace period. So if your form is rejected, if you file on November 15th and it's rejected on November 16th, you have a 5-day grace period to get that resolved and retransmitted. So it won't be considered late, but you still do need to actively take care of retransmitting that. Someone's asking what forms we offer in addition to the 990. So if you've visited our website at tax990.com, you'll see all of the forms we offer. We have the 990N, the 990EZ, the 990PF, the 990. We also offer the 990T, which is for unrelated business income. So if you report unrelated business income on your form, then you also have to file the 990T. We do offer that as well. Of course, we have the 8868 extension form. We have the California 199. So if you live in California, you're required to file that California 199 form as well. So we offer that. And then the 1120 POL for political organizations. And we offer the 8038 CP, which is for bonds. Gwen is wondering the support hours. I've got a slide coming up here in just a couple of minutes with our support details on it, but we are available Monday through Friday. We're here 8:30 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. We have chat, email, and phone support available, and I'll share all of those details with you at the end here. Samantha is wondering about the penalties for filing late. So the penalties vary quite a bit, and really we can't say specifically what your organization penalties may be because those are strictly determined by the IRS. But typically it's a penalty of $20 a day, which is 105 days for large or $105 a day for larger organizations. But the IRS determines what's considered large or not large organization. Most of the time it's $20 a day. For larger organizations, typically those filing the 990 long form, it's $105 a day. The penalty amount can go up to a maximum of $10,500 or 5% of the organization's annual gross receipts. So it can add up very quickly. So just don't be late. We so badly we want to help make sure that you are on time and avoid those penalties. So give us a call. We want to help you get through this and provide all of the guidance that we're capable of so you don't have those penalties. And then the cost of filing with Tax 990 is available at tax990.com/pricing. You can look at our per form filing fees. So you're only charged when you file. When you transmit a return is when you'll be charged for your return. I can link that to you here as well. Let me send this over. There you go. Samantha, I've shared that link with you. Joan, I would definitely suggest contacting the IRS to determine your filing date. It should say on your determination letter what your filing end date would be, and you would want to go off of that. So it would be 5 months after your end date. And if you want to share with us, if you want to email me or our support team a copy of your determination letter, we can try to help provide guidance on what that deadline would be. But with changing your status throughout the year, the IRS may have specific requirements on that. So I would suggest giving them a call, and I can send you the hotline number for that as well. Okay, Joan, I just sent the IRS tax exempt hotline, so go ahead and give them a call to confirm what filing requirements and what deadline you have. So the 2024 forms, we have a question about when that will be ready and when to file it. The 2024 forms will come out, typically we see the new year at the end of December. So towards the last week of December, typically, usually it's the last week. Occasionally the IRS will release them a little bit early. We'll see the 2024 forms be released. So that's going to report a tax year that began in 2024 and either ended in 2024 or in 2025. So right now we're focusing on the 23 tax year forms. Those are for organizations that are reporting a beginning date in 2023 and an ending date in 2023. No, I'm sorry. Ending date could be in 2024, but the beginning date is going to be in 2023. So if your tax year began in 23, you're filing a 23 form. The November deadline is for organizations that tax year began July of 2023 and ended June of 2024. So you always want to go off the beginning date. But once the 24 forms are released, we'll send out a mass email to all of our clients to let them know that they've been released and they can start being filed. We have to wait for the IRS to give us permission. Ernest, I'm going to link our home page, our sign up page, so that you can get started. So you'll want to create an account at tax990.com, and I'm going to send you the link to do that. If you already have an account, you can just click to sign in instead. Once you've created your account, you'll add your organization details and then start your form. And I'll also send you the same webinar I just sent a few minutes ago to somebody else with information on, we did a demo recently with the exact steps of adding the organization and starting a form and all of those things. So I'm going to send that webinar recording to you as well, so that you can view that and get an idea of how to get started. But you can also give us a call. Like I said, I'm going to show our information here in just a few minutes, so you can give us a call and we're happy to help you guys. Yes, Teresa, we do have a phone number that you can call here in just a few minutes as we finish up our webinar. I'm going to share the details with you to our contact line, so you can give us a call directly for assistance and save our contact information. And then I'm also going to send you, you've requested the IRS phone number. I just sent that over to you as well. Ophelia, if you want to confirm which video you would like a copy of, I'd be happy to send that to you. Today's webinar is going to be sent to everybody that has joined, so you'll get a copy in your email within the next couple of hours. If you would like an additional video or webinar, just send me the specifics of which one you want, or you visit tax990.com. And I'll link our website as well. You can just visit tax990.com, and we have our YouTube channel available there. We have all of our blog content available. We have our webinar schedule and our previous webinars available, so you can definitely take a look at all of those. All right, so we are finishing our time here. So let me swing back over to our webinar, and I will share those details with you on contacting Tax990 directly. Again, if you are filing a 990 series form and want to learn more about your filing requirements, you can visit us at tax990.com. We do have, as I've mentioned, our experienced live support. We are available by phone, email, and chat. So we are here 8:30 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. You can reach out to us and we'd be happy to assist you with any questions that you have. And if we can't help, we will do our best to give you a next step option. All right, that's it for today. Thanks everybody for attending. Thank you for all of these really great questions. You guys really came prepared, and I hope that I was able to assist you with those questions. If anything else does come up, please reach out to us, and good luck with filing your 990 series forms next week. We're here, we're ready to help you with it. Have a good day, everybody.